what's the weather going to be like? It's not going to be any better than this.
I know it's England. That's my concern about England because it's...
Why are you guys all the way over in Europe?
Bill.
You should be in
Get
Gurney.
back to
I
work,
know.
Bill.
You
I'm
should
so
be in
sorry we
Gurney with
can't be
us.
here. Wait, you need to be behind the podium, Bill. You can't be here with
We
us.
wish we could be there, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. Bye,
Hi,
Bill.
I'm David Walsh from LPC.
And this is...
And I'm Jennifer Dochstader.
We're not here today, unfortunately. We wish we could be. I know you've had a good day. We heard about the date of the event, and we realized we had already been contracted to be in England, which is in the middle of the North Sea, and it's very cold and rainy, and quite frankly, I wish that we were better than just being virtually here, but we're happy to be here. So let's move on from there anyway. Like I said, we're LPC. We are a market research company in the printing and packaging industry, primarily labels. And we work across all areas of the supply chain, so from converters to end users, and with suppliers, of course, in the middle there. We also work with a lot of industry associations. You've heard of most of them, I'm sure, TLMI, FINACT, NPES, Premier, NAPIM, et cetera, And it's our job today, the two of us, to give you an overview of the North American label market, A, and B, which is a little more interesting, to be able to talk about the multi-client study that we've just finished. So we won't just be talking about it, we're really kind of revealing some stuff. It's just for digital press manufacturers, and an effort that was led by our friends at Domino, amongst others. So that's our job here today. Now, what are we going to start? We're going to start with an overview of the market, right?
Yeah. So brief overview of the North American market. Right now, in 2016, we estimate that there are around 2,000 label converters in the U.S. and Canada. Important codicil here, those label converters all have sales of $1 million or greater. So we put that number right at about 2,000. If you look at the entire global label printing industry, the value of the North American market is at about 23%. So North America makes up about 23% of the overall global industry. We estimate that 218 label presses were sold into the U.S. and Canada. That includes both conventional, primarily flexo presses, and digital label presses. We estimate the whole market, conventional and digital, to be at around $12.5 billion. 9.3% of that was printed digitally. The food and beverage sectors are the behemoths of the market. They comprise the highest value, right at around 56%.
All the other sectors you see there, they're in the 5s and the 6s, but it's a market that is $12.5 billion. But that was a nice, easy graph. And this one, we have to move to the brains of the operation, because this one's a little more complex. But normally I like to keep things simple, but it's really worth it. Good stuff here.
So this graph is an overview of the 2015 label printing sector per end-use vertical. When we say end-use vertical, we mean food, beverage, pharma, household chemical, industrial chemical. So what this graph shows is the total value in billions of each end-use vertical and the percentage of that vertical that was printed digitally. So for example, in 2015, the value of labels sold by printers and converters to their customers in the food sector was nearly $3.6 billion worth. Around 6.6%, or $222 million worth of those labels were digitally printed. Just to bring up another example, as you're looking at this graph, if you hop on over to pharmaceutical, pharmaceutical has the highest percentage of digital labels per sector. In 2015, the pharmaceutical labeling sector was valued at $890 million. 18.7% of that sector, or $140 million worth, were printed digitally. We're the only group right now that is segmenting the market like this and that has these values in terms of percentages that comprise each total printed sector. So we think this information is interesting, and we want to share it with you today.
So this is what Jennifer wanted to call a brief conventional history lesson. And it's really about the sales of conventional presses. I'm sure we're going to look at the graph, and we can see that we've been tracking this stuff for about 10 years, but this is the last 5 years, so which is a very good gauge. And you can look at the slide, you're going to see 145 presses were sold in 2011, according to our stats. Last year, 2015, 101.
So, according to this graph, in 2016, we project that 93 new conventional presses will be sold into the U.S. and Canada. We also project that 130 digital presses will be sold into the US and Canada, so you can kind of get the discrepancy there. I also want to add here that 2014 was the first year that new digital press sales actually outpaced conventional press sales for the first time. That happened in 2014.
So that leads us on to 2020. So I get to talk about the future a little bit. We've obviously, this isn't blue sky thinking. We're taking our figures and moving them forward and the way things are working right now. The figures say that it's really a percentage thing. In 2020, we think that 1 in 4 printing presses, the new ones, as Jennifer was saying, will be conventional. 3 out of 4 will be digital. Now we want to talk about this reveal to you, this multi-client study that Domino has helped us and led us on. It's been, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, it's been, I suppose you'd say, a wild ride. We've had a tremendous response from converters, and which shows that they want to know our information, but shows that they're hungry for information.
The objective of the study was to primarily deliver printing press purchasing data, some of which you've seen, to digital press suppliers in addition to the trends. Why folks are going to choose one digital platform over another. Are you going to buy EP? And by EP we mean electrophotography, HP's Icon. Are you going to buy a digital inkjet press? Are you going to buy a Domino, an EFI? Are you going to buy one of the new hybrids, maybe a Gallus Mark Andy? Also, at this point, Mr. Converter, Mrs. Converter, are you perhaps uncertain about what you're going to buy? So we wanted to really gauge what those levels were, as well as how much uncertainty there is in the marketplace at this time.
This is the company's projected digital press purchases for 2016. So this is when we ask folks, what format are you going to be buying? Of the whole universe, 35% talked about, yes, they're going to buy EP. 31% said inkjet, 7% hybrid, 28% were uncertain.
I think this slide is one of the most interesting slides that we're presenting today because this group is label converters without any digital press technology. They do not have a digital press on the production floor, only conventional. So these are the folks from this category that said, yes, I will be purchasing a press in 2016. When we asked them what they will be purchasing, this is what they said. 15%, they're going to buy electrophotography. 31%, they're going to purchase inkjet. 8% are going to be purchasing one of the new hybrid systems. Big uncertainty here. Nearly half the group are uncertain as far as what they're going to purchase. And when we talk about all the research, all the vetting that companies are doing now, so many of them fall into this category. So many of them are label converters that do not already have digital technology on their production floor. One thing we wanted to do for you here today is we wanted to give you what our projections were. So on December 31st of this year, how is it all going to play out? What will those sales actually be? We think that by the end of this year, 51% of the companies who will purchase a printing press are going to purchase EP, electrophotography. 43% will purchase digital inkjet. We can really see the gap closing here between digital inkjet and electrophotography. It's getting closer and closer. 6% will buy one of the new hybrid systems in 2016.
We're learning here, looking at those kind of figures and large numbers of figures, it's a lot less comfortable on the fence than it used to be, and a lot of people are getting off.
Yeah, people are pulling the trigger.
Of course. Okay, here's a little bits of stuff for you guys to take back to your label companies if you have them. You can compare your own stats against these, but you can't tell anyone else because it's
exactly. We thought this data might be interesting for some of the converters in the audience and probably for some of the suppliers too. So here's some of the benchmarking data that came out from this research with 250 label converting companies. So why don't you take the first one?
Oh, okay. So this is, I've got to stare at the slide somewhat. So this is average flexo jobs per shift. And you can see the difference between that. You've got less than 3 jobs, 3 to 5, 6 to 8. You can read it for yourself. But the biggest one being 3 to 5 jobs, and the big stat being the average number of flexo jobs for a North American label converter is 7.
7 jobs per shift, and actually.
But you have something intelligent to add.
I do. I don't know if it's intelligent, but I have something to add, and that is, as you can see in this graph, we have 19% of participating converters claim that that per flexo shift, they do a changeover, setup changeover more than 14 times. What was interesting for me is when I went back into this group and I looked at that data even closer, a very high number of these companies don't yet have digital presses. So this is the ideal group in terms of purchasing a digital press because obviously they're changing over their presses a lot. So that's a very high percentage. Now we're going to show you average number of jobs per digital press. Unsurprisingly, much higher. We have 29% are saying that they have 11 to 15 jobs on average per digital press per shift. The average number here, almost twice as much as the Flexo data, 13. This is something that LPC asks the market about every 3 to 4 years. And we've been doing this for about 10, 15 years now. Since the rise of digital. And what we do is we ask label converters, okay, what are your break-even run sizes? And by break-even run size, we mean the run size in linear feet on your conventional, on your Flexo presses. What does a run size have to be so that you're not losing any money? No. And we ask the same question in this survey, and we can move over to the graph, and this will take you through the data. Here you see the breakdown. We gave converters options to choose from in ranges, so they wouldn't have to give us their exact data. However, if you take this whole group, the average break-even run size for Flexo for converters is 2,400 linear feet. Something that's very important here is that 3 years ago, we asked a very large sampling, I think it was around 170, 180 companies, the same question for some association work that we were doing at the time. The break-even run size 3 years ago was about 5,000 linear feet. So in 3 years, that run size has halved. I want to say here that conventional press manufacturers, they've gotten really good at being able to have quick changeover, short size runs on their presses. However, 2,400 feet, how much lower can that number really go?
I think the thing that we've come out from here is, and it won't be surprising, you're all sitting here, converters are, as Jennifer calls it, in major vetting mode.
Yeah. Research mode, vetting mode.
I don't think there's any doubt. I had the feeling, even talking to converters a couple of years ago, and a number of people were buying digital presses. But a number of people also at a meeting, a TLMI meeting or whatever, would say, I'm going. And you just look behind their eyes, and they weren't quite ready.
Yeah,
to
they
buy.
were waiting.
I'm definitely seeing now that a lot of those people are very serious. And one of the things, and I'm sure that's happening here today as well, but one of the things I love about the label industry is how much cross-fertilization of ideas and thoughts that there is. What do you call that?
I call that, I think you're referring to the peer sharing. We have found this to be especially true for digital printing. And just in the past year at the different association meetings, the different technical forums that we've attended, it's inevitable that we find a group of label converters talking about the kinds of digital presses they have and the kinds of digital presses that they're perhaps going to buy. And they're asking people, look, you have one of these presses, how is it? How's the service? What's your downtime? What's your average downtime? So that's where converters are right now. They're trying to get as much information as they can get their hands on to make what they think is an inevitable and imminent decision. I want to end today with what we see in terms of the increase for digital press sales. And we project that over the course of the next 5 years to 2020, digital press sales will increase nearly 12% per year.
Okay, my mother always told me that I should make sure that when I left the house of the guests who's had me to thank them for having us. You've all been very kind and invited us in some ways, even though we haven't actually been here. That's our regret. I hope you've got a little something out of the presentation we've had. Thank you very much, Domino. And Bill has promised us that we will be invited back, and I promise Bill that next time we'll be in the room. So that's it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Domino. Safe travels home.
You were pretty good.
I agree. You did okay?
Yeah.
1 to 10.
4.
4?
4. Last time you were a 3. Today was a 4. Pretty good.
I was about a
I was a
7. You were a 6. I think I was about a 7.
You want to go home?
Overall, let's go.
Let's go.